Hi everybody. Today we will continue with lecture 8 and the topic is VLE from cubic equation of state. But first let us quickly review what we learned from the previous video. We learned about the gamma phi formulation of VLE, and for VLE, gamma phi would account for both the non-idealities in both the vapor and liquid phases. Unlike the Reynolds law and modified Reynolds law, which only accounted for the non for modified Reynolds law, it only accounted for the non-ideality in the liquid phase, while the Reynolds law assumes ideality for both liquid and vapor phases. Next, we derived the expression for the gamma phi formulation. And here in this equation, we have parameters phi and gamma. Gamma is for the activity coefficient and it's on the liquid side, while phi is for the is in the vapor side. So the next thing that we did is to derive equations to solve for phi. By the way, phi is the ratio of the fugacity coefficient of the species in solution over its fugacity coefficient at saturation. And here we use the virial coefficient, virial, uh, the virial correlation to derive an equation for phi. Next, we presented different models for calculating the activity coefficient. We have the classical models, which are the Redlich-Kister expansion, Margulis equation, and the Van Laer equation. And these classical models are simpler and based on randomness of the molecules. So we also introduced the local composition models, which are the Wilson and RTL equation. For Uniquac and Unifac, we did not discuss it, but you can see it in the appendix. For the local composition models, they are based on the or they study the short range and non-random molecular orientation. They are more complicated than the classical models, but they are more accurate. Next, we also use the gamma V formulation for dew point and bubble point calculation. Remember in lecture 6, we did bubble point and dew point calculations using Reynolds and modified Reynolds law. Here, we also did dew point and bubble point calculations, but using the gamma phi formulation. And all of the calculations are iterative. We presented equations. Okay, so these are based from the gamma phi formulation. We presented and then we presented algorithms in order to solve bubble P and dew P, bubble P and dew T calculations. Please just check out the previous video for the details. So there are iterative steps. Some are more some have more steps than the others. Like for dew T and dew P, okay, there are iteration within or looping within the iterative loops. So please check it out. Next, so now we will finally move on to the next topic, which is the PLE from cubic equations of state. I hope you still remember equation of state from Che 142. What are equations of state? Well, the ideal gas law is the simplest equations of state. It relates the pressure, volume, and temperature with each other. Uh, but we also have the van der Waals and the rest of the cubic equations of state that now accounts for the molecular volume and also the attractive forces between the molecules. Because in the ideal gas law or the ideal equation of state, there's no we assume that there's no molecular volume and there's no interaction between the molecules. But for the higher cubic equations of state, we now account for it. And we will use these cubic equations of state in analyzing VLE. So these equations of state are used to describe uh, the the relationship of volume, temperature, and pressure, and we also use it for calculating the compressibility factor and the Z. So compressibility factor, what is it again? It describes the deviation from ideality. Okay, now let's begin by this fugacity criterion for equilibrium. So remember, in equilibrium, the fugacity in solution of a species in in the vapor phase should be equal to its fugacity in solution in the liquid phase. So we already established this in lecture 4, and this is a criteria for equilibrium. We can replace the fugacities for their in terms of the mole fraction and the fugacity coefficient in solution for both vapor and liquid phases. For vapor, it's the mole fraction in vapor phase of the species multiplied by its fugacity coefficient in solution and pressure. And then for the liquid phase, it's the mole fraction also multiplied by the fugacity coefficient in the solution and the pressure. We can remove the pressure from the equation, and we are left with this with equation 46, which equates both the vapor and liquid phases. And what do you notice? We need we need the fugacity coefficient. So the goal here is to find the fugacity coefficient. And how do we do that? We will use the cubic equations of state to calculate for the fugacity coefficient in solution for both the vapor and liquid phases and for each species. It's a little bit more complicated than what we did in um, Chewan 4.2 because now we have multiple species and we have multiple phases, but our focus is just vapor liquid phases. So vapor liquid in equilibrium. Okay. And that happens in saturation. Okay, saturation conditions. And in saturation conditions, we have the equilibrium of vapor and liquid, and therefore the liquid would have the vapor pressure. Okay. So even if they can be, or they are derived from experimental measurement, these vapor pressures, we can also use cubic equations of state for determining these vapor pressures. And well, actually, the simplest application of these cubic equations of state for VLE is to find the vapor pressure of a pure species at a given temperature. That actually is the simplest application of cubic equations of state for VLE. Now let's review this isotherm. This is an isotherm. Pressure is on the y-axis, volume is on the x-axis, and this is for one temperature. That's why it's an isotherm. So it relates the pressure and volume for a single temperature. Uh, and note that this path or this trend is applicable for subcritical pressure volume isotherm. That means we are way below or we are below the critical conditions or critical temperature. So this isotherm is plotted using a cubic equation of state. And what do you notice? Since it's a in cubic form, it would have this it would follow this curve. Okay. And it would seem like it has three roots, right? It's cubic in nature. Now let's observe. this first segment from R to S, okay, let me zoom in. Okay, what do you notice? Or rather, let's move from S to R. We are going from a low temperature to a higher temperature. What do you notice? Uh, this curve is very steep. And this is actually a characteristic of liquids because as we approach high temperature, or rather when P approaches infinity, the volume approaches a certain limit, and that's the molar we and that's the constant B. Okay, it's the molecular volume. Okay, so it approaches the constant B as P approaches infinity, and it accounts for the molecular volume. Okay, and therefore this segment S to R describes the liquid phase in a system in a VLE. Okay, now um let us move to the other side of the graph, the segment T to U. Okay, segment T to U. For the segment T to U, what do we notice? The uh curve approaches infinite volume. Okay, so as P approaches zero, the volume approaches infinity. So, and that is actually true, right? When the pressure is very low, the volume expands. How about the middle segment? The middle segment uh or between S and T or between M and W. And you will notice that the middle segment has both a minimum and a maximum. And there's a pressure that is less than zero. So this provides a smooth transition between the liquid and the vapor phases. By the way, okay, segment T to U describes the vapor phase, okay, because P approaches zero or P is very low. This middle segment describes the transition between the liquid and vapor phases, but we know that it has no physical meaning. We already discussed this in Trevor 142 that this segment has no physical meaning. And this is just the consequence of using a cubic equation of state. What do we know in reality is that this transition between liquid and vapor happens in a constant pressure. Right? It happens at a constant pressure, which is more like segment MW, that is the straight line. Okay? The actual transition from liquid to vapor occurs along a horizontal line which connects points M and W. Okay? So again, segment S to R is the liquid phase, segment T to U is the vapor phase, segment S to T has no physical meaning. It's just a consequence of using the cubic equation of state. But in reality, what happens is that the transition in from liquid to vapor and vapor to liquid happens at a constant pressure described by this horizontal line uh M to W. Okay, next. Um so let us go back to our Fugacity coefficient equation, equation 46. If it's a pure species, then x sub I will equal to y sub I. And therefore, this would be true. The fugacity coefficient in solution in the liquid phase of that species would be equal to its fugacity coefficient in solution in vapor phase. But of course, since it's a pure species, um, we just consider pure species, then the fugacity coefficient is equal. And we can also take the natural log of both sides and transfer all the terms on the left-hand side of the equation. Now, the fugacity coefficient of a pure liquid or pure vapor is a function of both temperature and pressure. Now, for a saturated liquid or vapor, the equilibrium pressure Pi sat, and this equation implicitly expresses the functional relation. So it just describes that it's a function of both temperature and the pressure at saturation. Okay. Now I already discussed this before, that the isotherm generated by the cubic equation of state would have three roots. Okay, would have three roots, meaning its intersection with y equal to 0 would be at 3 points. The left side would be the liquid-like root, okay, a liquid-like volume, and then the largest root on the right line segment is the vapor-like volume. So here, so in the vapor, when it touches the y equal to 0, that's the vapor-like root or volume. However, this one, the middle, has no uh significance, so has no physical significance. Again, the cubic equation of state would give us three roots: the liquid like, and the vapor like, and the middle one has no physical significance. Okay, so that's a review of the cubic equation of state, and also the introduction of the Fugacity coefficient into the uh, discussion. Now, let us discuss how we can use the cubic equation of state, um, but to calculate the Fugacity coefficient. And we usually, among the cubic equations of state, we are interested in Suave-Redlich-Wong and Peng-Robinson equations. So we are going to use these equations of state to calculate the Fugacity coefficient. Let us go back. I'm showing you the Che 142 slide on this. This is the generic form of the cubic equation state. And we also have in terms of the compressibility factor. And this is what we're interested in, this equation. So cubic equation state in terms of the compressibility factor. So we have here Z and beta Q. And how do we calculate beta? These are the important formula for beta and Q. So now in this formula we have B and A. Okay, so again B accounts for the molecular volume, and A is for the attractive forces. So B is for the repulsive forces that makes up the volume. A is for the attractive forces, and they correct for the non-idealities. Now, we also have epsilon and sigma, and this would account for, they adjust the shape of the PVT isotherms. Okay, so these are the meanings of these parameters. So now that we're interested in this, then we have to calculate B and A. They are calculated using this equation. So A is this one. It's the same. It's just that it's written here that it's a function of temperature, and B is this one. So where do we get psi and omega? We get it from this table. Just a review of how to use this. And how do we get this? We also have alpha. This should be alpha, not A. Alpha, as a function of the reduced temperature, is calculated using these equations at the bottom. So this should be alpha, and these are the equations. So we need the reduced temperature and therefore the critical temperature to calculate that, and the eccentric factor. In the past, in Che 142, it's very straightforward. So we're just given uh a substance, a species, and then the temperature, the pressure, and we're able to solve all of these parameters to solve for the compressibility factor. But now, since we're dealing with the vapor liquid equilibrium, so there are two phases, and not just that, we have multiple species. It will add more steps in the calculation. Oh, why? Because now we have equations for both the um, liquid and vapor phases, and also we have a subscript I which points to the species. Okay, so please take note for now. And these are now the equations for A, B, and therefore since A and B are inputs to beta and Q, this would be the inputs for beta and Q. Okay, take note for now. So we need to calculate for both the liquid, vapor, and we need to calculate for all the species. And we also introduce a new parameter, which is just actually just a rearrangement of other equations. We have I. Okay. So we have I, which is in terms of Z, sigma, epsilon, and beta. So it uses the same parameters and just makes the calculation easier. So the fundamental assumption when we use the equation of state for VLE is that we can write the equations in exactly the same form as when we write them for pure species. Notice that these are actually just the same equation as in Che 142 right here. They are the same form. No difference. It's just that we write them for both vapor and liquid. As you can see, there's a superscript V for vapor and L for liquid. And therefore, for the parameters beta and Q, we have to also write them in terms of liquid and vapor. So here, it's just written that the superscript is P, but it stands for either liquid or vapor. So we have a version wherein we write them for both liquid and vapor. And it's supposed to be straightforward if the scenario is a pure species. But since there are more than one species, then it's a mixture, and therefore there's an interaction and which can be either repulsion or attraction between unlike molecules. And we have to compare the interaction between the like and unlike molecules, and that makes the system complicated this time. And how do we account for that? Now parameters A and B, the volume B and interaction parameter would act as if they are in the mixture, and therefore they are functions of composition. Okay, now they are functions of composition, but there's no established theory that that prescribes this equation of states as a function of composition. So they generated our ancestors in thermodynamics. They made these empirical mixing rules. Okay, and what are these empirical mixing rules? These relate the mixture parameters A and B to pure species parameters. So what are these? For example for B, it's just a linear mixture. So the B for the mixture is just a sum of the pure species B multiplied by its mole fraction. Okay? That would give you the mixture parameter B. For A, on the other hand, since it accounts for the interaction between molecules, then between species I and J, so it only accounts for two molecule interaction, not more. So just two-way interaction. If you have species I and J, okay, you have to multiply the mole fraction and with their pure species A, and you take the sum of that, it would give you the mixture parameter A. So there's a note here that Aij is equal to Aji, since it's a two-way interaction. So whether we start with I or we start with J, it's just equal. And then X are the mole fractions. Xi is pure species. So another thing is that these mixing rules are not just applicable to liquid phase. Okay, x we can replace y sub I for x, and this would make it applicable as well for vapor phase. So you can put in y here, y here. These are also the same mixing rules in the vapor phase. And how do we calculate again for B and A? We use equation 48 and 49 on the slides to calculate for B and A. So therefore, you need to get the critical parameters, temperature, critical pressure, and temperature from appendix B. And then you can calculate for the pure species A and use that to calculate for the mixture parameter A and B. Okay, so the first thing is to calculate for the pure, pure species A and B before you can calculate for the mixture A and B. Now, for parameter A, there are two types. You have the pure species parameter. These would represent the interaction between like molecules. So, between the same species, that's why it's either A11 or A22. But there are interaction parameters between unlike molecules or unlike species. That's A12 and A21. To solve for A12 and A21, we can get the geometric mean rule. So what is that? We just multiply the pure species A and then take the square root. Uh, we use this to evaluate the A for unlike species. Now, we call this the Van der Waals prescriptions, and they estimate the mixture parameters from the pure components. Now, these mixing rules, they work best for um, simple mixtures which have similar molecules, but they make it also easier to solve complex vapor-liquid equilibrium problems. Now, let's go back to our main goal. What's our main goal? To solve for the Fugazi coefficient in solution. Okay. Now, since we have the mixture A and B, um, and because now the calculation is based on not just temperature and pressure, but also composition, we have to use partial properties. So we after calculating the mixture one, we now get the partial properties of A and B, and we use the symbol bar on top to represent the partial property. Again, how do we do that? We take the partial derivative of that parameter A with respect to the composition n sub I, taking all the other parameters constant. Okay? And we do that for A, B, and Q. Okay, we do that. We take the partial properties of this A, B, and Q, and we will use this in the uh, calculation to take into account the composition dependence of these mixture parameters. Next, now we look at the equations that we're going to use. So to calculate uh, the Fugazi coefficient in solution using the general cubic equation of state, we use equation 68. Equation 68, which is composed of the uh, partial parameter B, the mixture parameter B, we have Z and beta, and also the partial property Q and also I. So what is I? This is I. This is the equation for I. Okay. Now, how do we solve each again? So B is just since B base is linear mixing, the partial property B is just equal to its pure species. So equation 68 becomes 68A becomes equation 68B. So the bar here is removed. So this actually is our final equation to use to get the Fugazi coefficient. And how do we get the other parameters? For I, this is the equation. for partial property Q, this would be the equation 7t. And then for Z and beta, we use the mixture. Okay, so we use the mixture property Z and beta. All right. And before we can get to that, um, we have to solve using the uh, original parameters of the cubic equation of state. Now, this would seem like a bit complicated, but it will be clear after we demonstrate in another video uh, an example calculation using the Redlich-Kwong equation and applying these equations. But it will be for another video. For now, aside from the video, we also present here uh, a summary on how to solve this example. So step-by-step summary to solve this example. Okay, I will skip it for now because there's a video for that. And I will go to this next slide. And this is just a summary of the equations to use in order to use the cubic equation of state to calculate for the uh, Fugasti coefficient. Okay, so this is just a summary of the equations that we need to use. And this is our goal, the Fugasti coefficient. Now let's move on to this next slide, um, which is talks about bubble P calculations. So remember equation 46. Okay, let me go back to that. We began with the Fugasti coefficient right here, and then we began with the Fugacity equilibrium criterion, and then in terms of Fugasti coefficient, that's equation 46. And what do you notice? X we have x sub I and y sub I on each side of the equation. Now, if we take the sum, okay, if we take the sum, let's erase it. Let me repeat. Okay, do you remember the k value, which is the ratio of y sub I over x sub I? Okay, and therefore, if we transfer x sub I to the left-hand side of the equation, that would equal k sub I. Okay. And therefore, k sub I now is the ratio between the Fugasti coefficient in solution in the liquid phase with the Fugasti coefficient in solution in the vapor phase of species I. Okay. So again, I just use the definition of k value, which is the ratio of y sub I over x sub I, and I plug it into the equation, and that gave me this ratio. And if we sum all of the species, y sub I, so this is the same as in lecture 6, okay, the k value. Uh, if we sum all the species mole fraction in the vapor phase, that would equal to 1. Therefore, if we uh, take the sum of k sub I, x sub I, that will also be equal to 1. And how is this useful to us? We will use this in the next example. Okay. So, it's used for bubble point calculation where the liquid phase composition is known, and the problem is to find the set of k values that satisfy equation 7.3. And we will demonstrate that in example 2. Now, for the next video, we will solve both examples 1 and example 2, but please check the problem because the name of the video or the name of the problem in the video is not example 1 and not example 2. So please just match the problem. Okay, to find the problem by reading. Okay, by reading through the problem. All right. That ends the video on the cubic equation of state, VLE from cubic equations of state.